Good morning, fourth graders. Today we're going to be talking about our new nation, and as we talk about that, really where it starts off is the Revolutionary War coming to an end, and with that, the United States won and became its own free and independent nation, USA, USA. So now what was going to happen? Well, what had to happen next is they had to decide how their country was going to work, and what happened was each of the different states sent delegates or representatives to meet at what they called the Continental Congress. And what this Continental Congress's job was to come up with a plan for how the government would work. So as they met at the Continental Congress, they asked themselves, hey, does anyone know a great leader, someone who can lead our Continental Congress? And they were like, yeah, well, I do. Let's make George Washington the president of the Continental Congress. And that's what happened. So as they met, all of the different delegates argued and debated and were kind of discussing different ideas about how they thought the new government should work. And while they argued and debated, there was this guy over here that was taking notes the whole time. And that guy was pretty important. His name was James Madison. So as they argued and debated, James Madison took detailed notes about everything that the different delegates were saying. And he used those notes to help the delegates compromise, which is a fancy word for saying that he helped them to reach agreements. And once they all pretty much agreed, James Madison even wrote most of the Constitution of the United States. And that's a pretty big deal. So for those reasons, we called James Madison the father of the Constitution. So what's so special about that? Other people helped out too, right? Well, it pretty much tells how our entire government works, which is a huge deal. So James Madison, father of the Constitution. Now that they had come up with a Constitution, the next thing to do was to decide on who was going to be the next president. And you guessed it, our first president that was ever elected was George Washington. So here is George Washington being sworn in as the first president of the United States. And because of that and many other things, George Washington was also given the nickname Father of Our Country. And he was given that nickname because he really set a model for future presidents. He showed them what it meant to be a president. Nobody had ever been a president before, so every president that came after him basically looked to George Washington's example. Also, of course, well, he was the first president, so that's another reason why we call him the father of our country. And it was his strong leadership during his presidency that led our country and allowed us to become such a strong and independent nation as the United States of America. That's all for now. We'll continue talking about our new nation in the coming days, but I hope this helps us think a little bit more about both James Madison, the father of the Constitution, and George Washington, the father of our country.